Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Fame NFL tight end, won Super Bowls with the Broncos and the Ravens, and has been working in television since the end of his career, and now works at where I used to work. We were once co-workers together at Fox Sports 1. He's now there. He does a show with Skip Bayless. And Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, in an attempt to fire up his team before playing the Minnesota Vikings, used the comedian Gallagher. And some of you may be too young to remember the comedian Gallagher, but he had a visual form of comedy where he would smash things with a sledgehammer, and he was known for smashing watermelons. I went back just to check my memory yesterday and watch some of this online, and big crowds laughing hysterically, and I would look and I go, well, that's not that funny. Why did we laugh at that back then? But it was very popular. And Mike McCarthy is around the same age as me. And I've known Mike McCarthy since the early 1990s when he became an assistant coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I used to ridicule Mike McCarthy. He was a former Baker University tight end. He became the quarterbacks coach of the Chiefs when Joe Montana was there and Steve Bono. He was the offensive coordinator, was a guy named Paul Hackett. I got a long history with Mike McCarthy. He won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. I've known Mike McCarthy for a long time. He smashed some watermelons, and his team enjoyed it. The Dallas Cowboys, Saturday night before the game, he used this sledgehammer to drive home the point about what we're going to do to the Vikings. And the last one was a watermelon, and it represented Dalvin Cook, the running back for the Vikings, who's one of the best players in football. And a defensive lineman, a black defensive lineman from the Cowboys, got up like, "No, I'm gonna smash that one, coach." And he smashed it. The Cowboys enjoyed it. They go out and basically play their best game of the season the next day against the Vikings and win, and they have a little hope. But here's how Shannon Sharpe, and here's how he reacted to I think it was the NFL Network who reported what Mike McCarthy did the day before the team to inspire his team. I'm not sure what Shannon Sharpe is thinking. Anytime a watermelon is in the presence of white people and black people, it's offensive. Let's don't go to the grocery store together. There may be a watermelon and there may be black and white people in the grocery store at the same time. Who lives this way? Constantly looking for something to be offended by. The Dallas Cowboys, like most of the NFL, 70% probably black players on that roster. DeMarcus Lawrence, a defensive lineman, gets up, smashes a watermelon too. It didn't mean a damn thing to them because they're not thinking of how can I be controversial on TV and how can I accuse a white person of being racist. That's not a common thought for most people. They don't spend their day, although they're trying to program us to spend the entire day looking for how we're offended. And I'm just sorry. God created the watermelon, not white people. And I know there are a lot of black people, and Shannon Sharpe may be one of them, who think white people, particularly white liberals, are God. But they're not. Let me break the news to you. A watermelon is just a piece of fruit, a healthy piece of fruit, by the way. It's from the earth. There's nothing demonic about it. And yes, I'm aware that there was a time when it was used as a slur for black people. But again, as I told you earlier in the show, other people don't control my emotions. And so the sight of a watermelon and Mike McCarthy smashing it, I'm just sorry. It's not some painful reminder of racism. It's a painful reminder when we all used to laugh at Gallagher. That's all it is. I can't. Help me out here, Stu. I don't want to drag you into trouble, but
no.
I just don't get it.
Well, I have a moral opposition of saying something positive about the Dallas Cowboys, so I won't go down that road. But it does seem like, you hit on this, and I think it's an important thing to revisit. It seems like Shannon Sharpe is trying to convince the Dallas Cowboy players that they should feel racism when they didn't feel it. When they saw their coach, who they like, doing something to motivate them, he says, no, you're wrong to have that connection with your coach. And instead, you should see him doing the most evil thing any of us can picture, being this vicious racist in front of his players. When you have to convince someone that racism exists and they are the victim of it, well, maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe you're just coming up with something that isn't there. And it's tough because we get into this world where we just are on this constant search for outrage, this constant search. And I swear, this goes deeply into what you've talked about the last couple of days. We are so desperate to find this connection to something real. We're all looking to be moved and to feel something. When, the connection to faith used to be what that was. You were motivated by your faith. You were motivated by those, values that we've had for a long time. Instead, now we're on this constant search because we're empty inside. We're empty.
We're protecting our religion of blackness. And so if Mike McCarthy had stood before his team and said very negative things about Jesus Christ and people of faith, Shannon Sharpe would have virtually no reaction because our faith isn't, or what we've just disregarded that faith. You can say anything about Christians. You can say anything, negative, whatever. No one's going to have a reaction. But someone smashing a watermelon and potentially offending your blackness, I can milk 15 minutes of TV and some clicks and some social media follows out of that. And again, this is what's so unchristian about it, and what are just so impolite and just so morally bankrupt about it. And again, I'm telling, I know Mike McCarthy and have known him for more than 20 years. This man does something innocent with no malice, no intent. It's not received that way by his players. But Shannon Sharpe is going to smear this man as a racist to get through 5 minutes of TV. Now I'm saying, Mike McCarthy, I've known him. I've been a critic of him as a football coach, but there is not a shred of evidence that he's racist. And we just willy-nilly throwing that tag on him to get through a television segment is repulsive to me. And particularly, I've known Shannon Sharpe just as long. And I know it's a gimmick. I know he doesn't believe it. I might not be able to bite my tongue and not, it's a gimmick. I've written about this. Black public figures who are married to or have a heavy attraction towards white people, white women, go out of their way to prove how black and down they are. And they search for ways to be angry at white people and America to cover up the fact that I'm married to a white woman and I don't feel good about it. I got kids by white women and I don't feel good about it. I would never date a black woman and I don't feel good about it. So let me do these things to cover that up. Those are the facts. I know an NFL Hall of Fame tight end who used to say, if you ever see a black woman on my elbow, I'm holding her for the police. That was his running joke. He's a Hall of Fame tight end who happened to play for the Broncos and the Ravens. Guess who he might be? Known him for years. But we're going to smear Mike McCarthy so you can cover up your guilty conscience because of what you like and prefer? I'm sick and tired of it. Mike McCarthy doesn't deserve that.